to another intuitive EFT Tap and Chat. Sorry for the delay of getting that started. It's every time I think I've got it sorted out, I don't quite have it sorted out. So things to know, things to learn. So thank you once again for joining in on another intuitive EFT Tap and Chat. I am Dion from Eflowtion, a online business offering EFT tapping along with my wife Rebecca, offering EFT tapping and Soma breath to the world. So if you're interested in a session, feel free to either check out our website or click the booking now button on our Facebook page. So this one's going to be an interesting one, and it's on blame cycling. We're not blaming cyclists. What we're talking about is the blame cycle, and how that can impede our recovery journey. And with all of these tap and chats, I like to tap on some of the meridian points. So if you're not aware of EFT, check out our YouTube channel. My wife Rebecca does what is EFT and the tapping points on there. But just for the purposes of this video or live video, tapping on the side of the point, there is a meridian point there. And with EFT, when we tap on some of these points around our body, it helps release some of the stored up energy or stored traumas that might be in our body. And on the side of the hand is one of the points itself. So when we're tapping as I'm talking, and you can change hands, you don't have to keep going on one hand. If you know the points, you can tap on those points. But as I'm talking, sometimes when we talk about I guess difficult things, it has a particular body sensation. You might get tense shoulders, you might get a tense chest, your belly might get constricted, sort of thing. So tapping on some of these points as I'm talking, or tapping and chatting, helps release some of this stored up stuff that we've got in ourselves, stored up energy. So blame cycling. Now, I actually shied away from this one in the last one. Like, I went for authenticity, and it's not that I shied away because like it was a difficult topic to talk about. I shied away because, well, it's one of those topics that I kind of wanted to honor properly. And I know that's a strange thing to honor blame, but blame is quite a, whether you would call it an emotion or just a strong belief system that we have in ourselves. And sometimes the cycle of blame that we have, whether it's blaming ourselves or blaming other people, can sometimes get in the way of our own recovery journey. Now, there's two things that I think about when I think about blame. One is accountability, and two is responsibility, which is very triggering words in itself with blame, and I understand that. But bear with me as I sort of step hesitantly through this minefield of blame. So, with blame and how it can impede our recovery journey. Now, why I say accountability. Accountability is not saying I should be accountable for something that was wrong done to me. I'm not saying that. What I am saying, though, is being accountable for yeah, being accountable for our response to something done wrong to us. Um, there's probably many examples that I could come up with for that. Um, but when I say blame cycling, it sort of implies that there is a cycle of blame or blame giving to another person or within ourselves. And with a cycle, I guess, it's kind of like, yeah, like walking around in a circle sort of thing. You might use up a lot of energy getting somewhere, but where you've gotten is just basically around and around and around and around and around, and it's burning up a lot of energy that could probably go towards actually healing. With blame comes, and the reason I say honor blame is with blame, it carries a lot of, I guess, anger goes with blame and that, and I guess hurt, and sometimes with blame, it's kind of like in certain situations, not all situations, but it's where, yeah, you've given love and or given a part of yourself that wasn't received well, and therefore when that's hurt, we respond with an angry or I don't want to say irrational response, because what we do at the time is what we respond with, sort of thing. So that's rational to us at that time, but we respond in a way that probably causes more harm than good, sort of thing. And when we respond, and it's a weird thing, because it's like we're wanting acceptance, we're wanting love and that, but in order to, and because we're basically responding in the best way we know how, we respond with an angry response. So it's like, give me love, but I shall act in anger, sort of thing. And with blame, that can be a bit like that. And it should be, well, it sometimes is, where you expect the other person to yeah, I'll say this hesitantly, like take responsibility for their actions, for something that was done to you. And sometimes there's cases where it's like whatever's being done is done, but we're still blaming the person, even if they don't even want to accept responsibility. And then it's like there's that love that gets left hanging, sort of thing. It's like an unfinished sentence, sort of thing. It just doesn't get completed. So we've got a situation where it's like there's a blame cycle that's never going to get completed because the other person doesn't want to accept responsibility, which I guess is where accountability comes in. And not accountability for the other person, because the other person doesn't want to accept responsibility, so how can they be accountable? But I guess it's accountable for how we respond. And I guess, once again, do we choose to go round and around in a cycle, in a circle of blame, for a person that might never accept responsibility or accountability? Which means that we're sort of stuck, because when you're going around and around in circles, you're not making any progress forward in life or on a recovery journey, for example. You're just sort of treading water in a way. There's, I guess, with accountability for ourselves, especially if something has been done wrong to us, for example, and the other person doesn't accept responsibility or any of those things. Accountability is not going, hey, something has been done wrong to me, therefore, like, I'll take accountability for that. No. What that is I take accountability in something that was wrong that was done to me, and I shall be accountable for how I choose to heal from those wounds. I'm not sure if anyone's aware. I mean, there's definitely people aware, but the word trauma, for example, comes from the Latin word wound or wounding sort of thing. So taking accountability for how you heal your wounds. And you can blame the other person as much as you want, but that's energy that could be going towards healing yourself. Especially if it's like a wasted cause where the other person doesn't accept responsibility or accountability. They might just continue on doing what they're doing sort of thing because they're blissfully in their own world. I say blissfully lightly. So our accountability to break a blame cycle for something that is burning up our own energy. I think our response to it, and as I was saying with anger before, our response could be anger. We could be constantly angry. But anger is kind of like a marathon race, or sometimes a sprint. You can be angry for a long time, but it's burning up energy, and it's probably burning up a lot of other things in our bodies and causing us a bit of discomfort and illness. And you might say, well, these things were done to me at a young age. And probably these things still apply where if say the caretaker won't accept responsibility or accountability, or is this once again just going to continue on doing what they're doing sort of thing. With blame, with the blame cycle, it's once again, how do we respond to it, and how do we be accountable for our own healing and that? Because you could blame your caretakers, your parents, and that. I'm one to talk about that. But it is a case of which do you blame first, the chicken or the egg, and that. So once again, with that, is like you could put all your energies into blaming the chicken, but the egg, the inner child, the whatever you want to call it, probably deserves to maybe go, hey, maybe I'll break that cycle, that blame cycle, or any other cycle of patterns of behaviors, and turn that healing inwards. And sometimes with blame, here's the other thing, is it feels good to blame someone. Oh, it feels so self-righteous to blame someone. It's all their fault. It's them. They're the reason I am this way in the world, sort of thing. And or any other system, government, whatever sort of thing. It feels brilliant to blame and labeling. And I guess with any sort of satisfaction that you're getting out of it, any pleasure, and this might be triggering, and I encourage you to tap along with this one, is if we're getting pleasure and comfort out of blaming something, and we repeat that cycle, there's another thing that people do that get pleasure and comfort out of things and they repeat. It tends to be an addiction. We might be getting addicted to blaming, and it's a satisfaction that will probably never get met, because once again, we need to take accountability and responsibility to break that cycle of blame, of that addiction, to turn it inwards, and to take responsibility and accountability to turn all that energy, all that negative stuff, and maybe start addressing some of the own stuff within ourselves. And that can be tricky, and that can be hard, and I'm not going to minimize that whatsoever. But all that energy spent going into something that has no outcome, or has the outcome of causing hurt and grief to others, I think is probably energy that could be better spent healing and nurturing those parts that maybe was done to our own selves, and we might be just repeating those cycles. So it's a strong, I'm not even sure if blame is an emotion or just a thought pattern or just a culmination of emotions, but whatever it is, I think it's one of those things that if you're going round and round in circles, making no progress, and you can blame others as much as you want, but if that is making no progress in your own life, then it's probably time to be, and I think this ties into maybe my other video on authenticity, being authentic with your own self and saying, hey, maybe it's time to turn my attention inwards and say, I may be acting out some of the hurt that was done to me, some of these wounds that were done to me. And like I was saying before, handing out anger in the hope that it'll be reciprocated with love is once again sort of like, I said it before, where it's like nurturing a garden with a flamethrower sort of thing. I think everything just gets burnt in the process sort of thing, probably our own selves as well. So that may have been quite tricky for some people. It was quite tricky for myself to actually talk about. I know that blame, like, it's not assuaging wrong that was done to us. I'm saying that if you're truly accountable, authentic, taking responsibility for a damage that was done to you, then when you've got all of that under your belt, I guess, as far as healed a lot of parts of yourself, because you've taken that accountability, responsibility, and authenticity, then in that you also get the freedom to know those around you that might be putting a bit in your basket that you don't need. So with that said, it's already been 18 minutes. With that said, let's go into a round of EFT tapping. So we'll do EFT tapping on blame cycling. So with EFT, I will do the setup statement. We'll do it 3 times, and then we'll move into the different points. Follow along as best you can. Once again, there's that video that my wife has done on the tapping points on our YouTube channel, if you want to know a bit more about the points. And when I say a statement, you can either say it out loud or in your mind, because even when we think things, we create a sympathetic response, which is a stress response, and EFT will help release that stress. That's the primary purpose behind EFT. Okay, so I'll just have a quick tea, and if you need one, go for it. Okay. Even though I may have been blame cycling, and I may have been laying blame on other people, and I may have been blaming myself. I still deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself, even though I've been blaming all these other people, or that person, for all the hurt that was done to me, because it's their fault. I still deeply and completely love, honor, accept myself, even though I've had all this hurt done to me, and I feel the need to blame all these people. I still deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. Okay, so we move into the tapping points now. Top of the head. All this blame. All this blame cycling. All this blame cycling. All this laying of blame. And I'm blaming others for what they did to me, because it hurt. And all this blame. If I keep blaming them, then they might feel my hurt. And maybe they're not. But I need to keep blaming them. But if they're not taking responsibility for the hurt they caused me, then what am I going to do with this hurt? Because it really hurts. Maybe I can blame other things in my life. Blame other people that may not have hurt me. But I'm perceiving that same level of hurt. All that was done really hurt. And I'm hurting. And I might be really angry. Because that protects me. If I push other people away, with anger and with blame, then I won't be hurt again. And maybe I've done that in my life. But that hurt's still there. I'm still carrying that hurt. And it doesn't feel nice. And I might be blaming myself for that. I'm blaming myself for what I should have said. Or what I should have done. In that particular moment. That happened to me. And I might be angry at myself for not responding better. for not letting them know how truly much they hurt me. And I'm carrying that hurt. And I'm carrying that anger. And if the other person's not going to accept responsibility for my hurt and for my anger, and if I'm blaming myself for not responding the way I thought was appropriate, then maybe I should let myself know that even though what happened was really painful and it really hurt, and I've tried to stuff it away, that stuff that happened, it wasn't my fault. And it really hurt. But it wasn't my fault. Because how I chose to respond was the best possible response in the time. It may not have been a good response, but I'm still here. And if I'm still here, and I don't want to carry this pain, and I don't want to carry this blame, or this need to blame, then maybe it's time to let it go. I'm open to letting go of this blame. I'm open to letting go of this hurt. I'm open to letting go of this anger that I carry. It was the best response that I had at the time. But I'm responding now. I'm responding now to healing. And I'm responding to letting it go. And I'm taking accountability in how I choose to heal. Because I'm sick of being on a cycle that gets me nowhere in life. And it holds me back from moving forward on my recovery journey. And I'm recovering myself. That part that was really hurt. And if those people don't want to accept responsibility, don't want to accept accountability, and just keep doing what they're doing, then maybe my recovery journey takes me on a different path. A path away from that hurt. And away from that pain. Because I'm responding. And I'm being accountable. And I'm moving away from that pain. And I'm moving into some freedom. Some emotional freedom. That's free from being stuck in a cycle. And moving forward in my recovery journey. In body, mind, and soul. And just taking a deep breath in. And seeing where that sits with you in your body. And I speak more to the body. I realize the mind-body connection, the mind is in the body. So the two do relate. So with the strength and I guess power of blame, that real strong, uncomfortable or self-righteous or really intoxicating, that's the word I'm after, that intoxicating feel that you get from it. I guess, is it a feeling that brings you actual happiness or just brief moments of happiness? And I guess if you want happiness where it's not just quick shots of happiness and doesn't make you feel crap afterwards, maybe it's time to move out of a blame cycle and taking accountability for how we respond to our healing. Yeah, okay. So that's me for the night. I'm Dion from Eflowtion. Once again, a service that offers EFT tapping and soma breath to the world. We have Mental Health Week this week. Eflowtion will probably be doing a lot more videos this week. But we also want to recognize that after this week has ended, that still continues. So we will still be here to help people and still continuing on our effort to walk alongside those people that really want to recover the part of that themselves that has been lost, I guess. So if you're willing to take a step onto that journey, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. So maybe it's time to tune in and see if that's that first step that you're willing to take. Option's yours. I'm Dion from Eflowtion, and have a good night, week, and see more of you this week.